back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Southeast Termite and Pest Control. It's the dog days of summer, folks. It's ridiculously humid outside. Protect your flooring, your ductwork from mold and mildew by taking advantage of Southeast Termite and Pest Control's crawl space encapsulation plan. Visit their website to learn more. Just another way the Haynes family can protect your home and your family. They've been doing it for 50 years, Southeast Termite and Pest Control. Okay. Back with Will West. Let's talk a little bit about guys who will be, in our opinion, more important than they may be getting talked about now. We mentioned Ollie Lane earlier for like this opener, if he's in there, that kind of thing. This could be somebody that you think is going to be a big part of the season, that you think needs to be, that you think could be in a good way or could be in a I'm worried about him kind of way. So I've got a couple. You probably got a couple. I'll let you start.
Kamal Hatton. That's the number one that I go with, is Kamal Hatton. I kept hearing all year last year during spring and summer, fall camp, Kamal Hatton's the best defensive player on this team. And I was kind of floored to hear that, and then I watched him get smoked all year while still talking trash to the competition.
Yeah.
So, but this year, they're saying the same things about him. And there have been a number of times over the years where we were told about a player, and especially in spring camp, and then the guy did nothing that year. But the year after is when it paid dividends. That's a guy that if Kamal Hatton actually is unlocked and he can play at a high level, like the coaches have kind of said on the low that he can, I think that would be a guy that could be a huge game changer for Tennessee.
I'm going to go with Omar Norman Lott, not just because of the Elijah Simmons, him being missing for a few games, which certainly makes Norman Lott more important. Rodney Garner's been talking him up, which is important. But also this is a guy who they brought in who it's expected that he's going to be able to collapse the pocket from the inside. We've been wondering for a couple of years, they've been okay at getting sacks. They were middle of the pack last year in the SEC. But we've been talking about who's going to be the pass rush. Okay, is the secondary going to be bigger? Who's rushing from the ends? You can get a pass rush up the center, and that can impact the quarterback just as well. So to me, Omar Norman Lott, if he can develop into the guy that Rodney Garner has been praising him as, if he can develop into a guy that can collapse the pocket, that changes the way your entire defense plays. So that, to me, is a key guy to watch.
Amari Thomas told us at Tennessee's Media Day, Omar Norman Lott actually has been teaching the other defensive tackles how to rush the passer. And that's pretty high praise. And so I do think that Omar Norman Lott, if he can stay healthy, because there were a few days over the last couple of weeks where he hasn't practiced, another one of those guys, right?
Yeah.
But if he can stay healthy, I think he's the guy that can be a game changer. Next one that I'll go with is Gerald Mincey. I think Gerald Mincey could be massive. I've heard all summer long from players on the team, this is the guy. He's mean. He has a mean streak. He'll step right into where Wright was, and at least when it comes to run blocking, be close to as good as that and be just about as good in pass protection. I think that Gerald Mincey has a chance to be the star on this offensive line nobody's talking about. And one of the reasons no one's talking about him is because they ran a 5-on-5 or a 5-man drill with the offensive line early on in the season that they let the media see, and Gerald Mincey wasn't the right tackle. But I do think from talking to people, he actually is going to be the starting right tackle, and I think he could be a game changer for Tennessee.
I'm going to do a cop-out on the last one. I'm going to go with two, but the reason it's a cop-out is we know it's important. It's just nobody ever talks about it. You've got a new kicker and a new punter this year. Jackson Ross punting. You didn't have a great year from the punter position last year. Charles Campbell is going to be your place kicker this year, the transfer in from Indiana. He was good at Indiana. You go back to Chase McGrath last year. He hit the winner against Alabama. He hit some big kicks, there's no question. He also had some trouble on some extra points last year, which, if you remember, he had to go for 2 against Alabama. I want to get the extra point thing buttoned up. That could haunt you. But kicker, punter, not a lot. It's just not a sexy position, so nobody ever talks about it until you're trotting out there to beat Alabama with 3 seconds to go in a game. So I want to see how Jackson Ross and Charles Campbell perform.
Look, the kicking game has to be there. It does, especially if you're going to have a high-scoring offense with maybe a questionable defense. It may come down to somebody stops you and you need to kick a field goal. You're trading field goals for touchdowns type situations. Bend, don't break. That's where defenses are right now, which means the kicking game becomes even more vitally important.
Yeah, I mean, go ask Pitt if they could have used a kicker against Tennessee last year. All right. When we come back, I've gone back. Oh, you want to see this? I've gone back over 5 seasons. Josh Heupel's been a head coach at UCF for 3, Tennessee for 2. I've gone through every game, thrown out the FCS games because those are crap. Just looked at the FBS games. I've got 7 statistics that you can follow during a game, and they're going to tell you with an 85 to 90% certainty whether Tennessee's going to win or lose. You'll want to write those down. We're going to be tracing them on the show this fall. We're going to show them to you next. Come on back to the Sports Source.